The 18 and 1900s saw many Irish people emigrate to the United States in search of a better life, in most cases leaving family and friends behind. But across the intervening years, the shores of Ireland still called, a sentiment shared by Kathleen Wallace Mears. Kathleen's grandfather was a native of Enniskillen, and with the help of local genealogist Frankie Roof, she has managed to take a step into the past, retracing her family tree in what she says for her was finally a feeling of coming home.
It was very exciting because in my mind, Enniskillen probably hasn't changed a lot from when my grandfather was here. You know, in America, everything's kind of new and bustling and changing all the time. So it was wonderful to be able to come and see something that was probably very similar to what they actually saw. Even though this is my second time here, but still relatively new, to feel the sense of coming home to something that I had heard about all of my childhood.
Kathleen's husband has been researching her ancestry for many years, but it was on this trip that all the missing pieces finally fell into place. But where does one begin to jigsaw together over 200 years of history?
If I told you that, I'd have to shoot you. No, we get a few names. Basically, then we find them in the records of birth, death, and marriage, cemetery records, baptismal records in churches, statutory records like the 1901, 1911 census, Griffith's valuation of 1859, 1862, tithe records of 1823 to 1838, and you can go back as far as you can get back with the family circle. It just depends on how long they've been in a given area.
So with the right know-how, Frankie got straight to work and remarkably has been able to uncover over 100 family documents.
They were all tradesmen, which makes it much easier. It's much harder finding labourers and farm labourers and workers like that. But once you've got tradesmen, they were cabinet makers, a specialist trade, tailors, another specialist trade, and the Topping family came from County Derry through County Cavan and into County Fermanagh, and I was able to trace all those different counties and finally link it to the one that was based here in Fermanagh. Her family circle were Wallace and Quinn, and it was Pat Quinn, the tailor, came from County Armagh, County Fermanagh. In about 1861-62, he set up home and probably business in Downing Street. He moved quite a bit until they finally settled at the Diamond. He moved to the markets area of Enniskillen. He moved to High Street. He also moved to East Bridge Street, and finally he settled on the Diamond, where today's locksmith shop is, and that was his home above the shop, and his work premises was downstairs. He was the biggest employer of male employees in Fermanagh in that period from probably the 1880s, 1890s, right through to the early 1900s.
From the Diamond, their journey continued to the Church of Ireland, where the marriage of Kathleen's grandparents took place.
The marriage took place here in the Church of Ireland Cathedral here in Enniskillen between Hugh Wallace, the son of Hugh Wallace, and Charlotte Quinn, the daughter of Pat Quinn. They married in, as I say, in the church, and they moved to Belfast because Hugh Wallace's son had set up business in Belfast as a cabinet maker. And it is actually stated as part of the family history that he worked on the Titanic. He was selected with a group of people to actually travel on the Titanic, but because of another job, he didn't travel in that, and that probably saved his life.
And it was in Hillman Street in Belfast that the newlyweds had two sons, Hugh and Samuel, Kathleen's father. In 1822, Hugh Wallace left Roden Street, then the family home, for Pasadena, America, soon followed by Samuel and Hugh's girlfriend Sarah. It was this move that is most significant for Kathleen, as it was the beginning of a new chapter for the Wallace clan in the USA.
My father immigrated when he was 24. And he never lost his brogue. And so it's wonderful it feels again like coming home to hear people around me talking in words and tones that I grew up with, so it was wonderful. Places that they lived, the streets, since they had businesses on streets that are still here. While the buildings may be a little bit different, it was wonderful to know that they would have walked down that street, they would have seen this view if they were looking out their windows, or that they might have gone into businesses here that we can walk in and imagine that they might have been there. It was wonderful. I would highly recommend that they contact Frankie, because again, it's like putting flesh and blood on the bones. The dates and the names are one thing, but when you find out more about how they lived, what they did, what life was like when they were here, it's much more meaningful.